So the social criticism that I will install in a book is likely to be anti-left wing. Long, long time ago, the philosopher Kierkegaard used to write a book of philosophy. And then he would write a book attacking his book of philosophy under a different name. And then he would write an article attacking the book that attacked him. And he would do this until he was satisfied that he had not only made a good point, but then savaged it. So that's what, I guess in a way, I kind of like putting that little bit of edge into my books. Although, please, please, none of you read any of them and think that I'm Kierkegaard. Go ahead.
Pasaron muchos años entre esa primera novela y la última que va a salir en agosto. Yo me pregunto si esos temas de crítica social han cambiado, si las cosas que se criticaban en los 80 son distintas de las que se critican hoy.
Well, good question. I'm not sure if they have or not. I will say that the really wonderful thing about America is that as soon as you criticize the country, the social themes in the country, everything changes. And so you can start all over again with the next book and with the book after that. But I think that what really happens to you as a writer, as you get more accomplished at what you're doing, at what you're writing, your writing gets a little more subtle and the characters become a little deeper. And your ability to control all the factors, all the elements of your book become a little more, you get a little tighter grasp on all these things. I have a good friend, I think I told you this last night. I have a good friend named Phil Caputo, who's a wonderful writer. And he always used to say that you should write your first book, and then you should write 4 more. And then you should be allowed to go back and write your first book again, because that was your best story and the story closest to your heart. And now you actually know what you're doing. I think there's some truth to that. You've written, and you go, oh my God, did I write that? And you call your wife, or she calls her husband, and she says, you say to her, you say, look, who put this into my book? It doesn't make sense. It would be much better if this period was here, this chapter was here, this paragraph went like this, and if I just reversed these things, wouldn't that be great? And in my case, my wife looks at me, and she realizes that this is so pathetic that it doesn't really require a response. So all I can say is, yes, I guess there are some parts of it that I would like to write again, but which parts I'm not going to tell you.
Bueno, ahora entonces podés hacer las películas y reescribir en la película lo que salió para el libro.
A brilliant idea. The only problem is, in my case, I've had 3 of my books made into movies, and someone else did the screenplays, and they thought the same thing. Thus, my disappointment, and shall we say, how should I need to put this diplomatically in case there's someone from MGM or Universal here. I was disappointed in some of the results. That's it. Don't say any more.
Bueno, como dijimos antes, es un lector que se sienta y piensa cosas que nos hacen dar miedo. Y yo quería preguntar, ¿qué es lo que te da miedo?
Well, first off, I need to tell you that the only book that I have ever read that scared me, 2 books, sorry. One nonfiction, a book called The Hot Zone. It's about Ebola virus. That's scary. It's also real. Really, really real. But, in terms of novels, the only one that really scared me was Thomas Harris's book, Red Dragon, the first book with Hannibal Lecter. I was reading that, and you have to understand, Tom Harris is this incredibly genteel, polite fellow from Mississippi, the sort of guy that would be mortified if you didn't hold the door open for a lady or hold a chair for her. He's a sweetheart, a bear of a man that is totally delightful. And I was sitting there reading that book at night, and I was shaking. This was scary. And then I thought to myself, keep going. Because the fear is exactly what he's trying to get. And I gave myself up to his story. And it was terrifically satisfying. One other book I read when I was younger that I found deeply unsettling was John Fowles' book, The Magus. I recommend it highly. It is a book of intricacy and psychology, and brilliantly written by one of the world's great writers. And that book gave me, well, I would say it gave me a sleepless night, but it didn't. Because I simply read it and kept reading and reading and reading and wasn't even aware that the night had gone by. It's the best kind of book.
John, te estás escapando de la pregunta. ¿Vos?
Okay.
Sí. La pregunta, esto es una charla íntima, y la pregunta es, ¿qué cosas te dan miedo? No qué libros te dan miedo.
Oh, right. Well, it would be easy to say I fear Wall Street at the moment because they're ruining it for all of us. You know, it's an interesting thing. I fear the things that are outside of my grasp, that occur to people who I'm close to. The greatest anxiety, the greatest tension you can have in your life is to have children. Because you wrap up inside of them all your hopes and your dreams and your beliefs, and they are so vulnerable throughout. That makes me anxious when I worry about them. Other than that, I don't, what's there to fear? You know, although, all right, I'll let you in on something that I don't talk about publicly a lot. A couple of times I've mentioned it